But now let's talk about this, a firing at the Federal Reserve to report. So after months of attacks launched at the Fed, President Trump tells Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook, "You're fired." Trump made that firing public on social media last night. So critics of the president say Federal Reserve members can only be fired from their, by the way, 14-year-long terms for cause. Well, the president believes he has that cause to fire Cook. In fact, he says she made false statements on mortgage documents claiming 2 properties as primary residences. You can't do that. Technically, Cook's term was not supposed to end until 2038. Cook, though, is defiant. She says she's not going anywhere. In fact, she said in this statement, "I will not resign. I will continue to carry out my duties to help the American economy as I have been doing since 2022. So we've got CBS News 24/7 team coverage with senior business and tech correspondent Ling on how this impacts your wallet and then larger, the economy. But first, let's go live to the White House and CBS News White House reporter Olivia Rinaldi. Olivia, good to see you again, my friend. Tell us a little bit more about the allegations against Cook.
Well, Reed, it's good to be with you. This would certainly amount to a seismic shift at the Federal Reserve, and the White House believes that this is a legal case that they're going to win. Essentially, President Trump sent the letter last night to Dr. Cook, who is a member of the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, and in that letter, he said that he has lost confidence in her, and there's sufficient cause to remove her from her position as one of the governors on the Federal Reserve Board. The reason why, the basis for these allegations, is that the president says that due to an investigation that happened with the Federal Housing Finance Agency, which is an agency here in Washington, they say they have found a claim that she claimed residency in 2 separate states, in Michigan and in Georgia, in Atlanta specifically. And because of that, it amounts to mortgage fraud, saying her primary residency was in both states in an effort to get favorable loans with those mortgage agreements. This was then sent to a criminal referral from that agency to the DOJ, which is pursuing it. The president says because of that, he has lost confidence in her and she is removed effective immediately. As you alluded to, though, when you were in your intro, she says that she is not backing down, that she will not resign from this position, and that the president does not have the authority to do this. This White House, though, is making the bet that he does.
Okay, and so how are they going to back up that argument on the note of legal authority?
Well, certainly the part here about the malfeasance or the mortgage fraud is the case they're going to be making. There's a lot of question about whether the president can fire anyone from the Federal Reserve, and the consensus has been he can do it for cause. Well, what does cause mean? Is this cause here, even though there has been no criminal complaint filed in this, does this still count, this criminal referral? The president seems to think that it does, but read broader picture here. This White House, this administration has been extremely critical of Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, and the Federal Reserve as a whole for not cutting rates. The president has argued that they should have cut rates months ago. They have not done that. And also in context, President Biden, during his administration, appointed 4 of the 7 Federal Reserve governors that serve on this board. President Trump has been able to appoint 1, Stephen Moran. He is going through Senate confirmation process soon. But if Dr. Cook were to be removed, that would be another person that President Trump could add to this Federal Reserve Board. They're the ones that set interest rates. They're the ones that make the monetary policy here in the United States, and President Trump can certainly have a hand in influencing them if he's picking someone who's more reflective of perhaps the monetary policy that he would like to see, which includes rate cuts. So there's a lot at play here, and certainly a lot that this White House is, banking on with this allegation of fraud.
Olivia, there are other matters in our nation's capital I want to ask you about, so keep the parking meter running, as it were. We're going to come back to you here in just a minute, my friend. But let's also bring in, on this point, CBS News senior and business tech correspondent Ling. Good to see you once again, Ling. Walk us through how Lisa Cook came to this position in the first place.
She was nominated by the Biden administration, as Olivia pointed out, and then she was confirmed in a party line vote in the Senate in 2022. It was 50-50. Then Vice President Kamala Harris cast the tie-breaking vote, and Lisa Cook became the first black woman to serve on the Federal Reserve Board of Governors. Now, she's got this 14-year term. She was prior a longtime professor of economics at Michigan State University, and now they have decided to take action. Lisa Cook and her lawyers saying today, we will be filing a lawsuit challenging this illegal action. This comes from her lawyer, Abby Lowell, and he says President Trump has no authority to remove Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. His attempt to fire her based solely on a referral letter lacks any factual or legal basis. Now, we've also reached out to the Federal Reserve to ask, what is the status of Lisa Cook's ability to continue to do her work, which is what she wants to be doing right now. We have not yet heard back on that front, but certainly this is a moment where the independence of the Fed hangs in the balance. If President Trump is successful in a legal battle here against Cook in removing her from this position, it will essentially give him more political power to use the Fed potentially as a way to control interest rates. And of course, you might wonder, why does that matter? The Federal Reserve, the central bank. Well, this entity controls interest rates. And as we know, we anticipate an interest rate cut already based off of Chair Powell's remarks last week in Jackson Hole. That will happen in mid-September if they decide to cut rates. But if the president is successful in removing Cook, he could essentially be able to use interest rates as a political tool, which is something that has long been seen as not a good idea by many economists and those who are looking at how the economy is run. So we'll see what happens here. But the headline really is Lisa Cook, her lawyer, saying we will be filing a lawsuit challenging what they call an illegal action, Reid.
Well, and perhaps it is just to state the obvious, Jolene, but let's really get foundational here. The importance of the Fed being an independent body. It's to keep it out of the political fray, is it not? And, depending on who's in office, it can benefit Democrats or Republicans. So a lot of critics are saying this is tricky business today.
Yes, it's very tricky, and it is a very important and fine line to walk. And we have seen President Trump in his second term repeatedly attack the Fed, demanding that interest rates are lowered. But the FOMC is an independent body within the Federal Reserve. And essentially what you have here, when you look at the broader context, is Governor Cook. She is someone who has voted with Chair Powell to keep rates steady all year. Of course, the September meeting, Chair Powell has telegraphed that, they may be interested in cutting rates. We saw our strongest signal yet, but there's no guarantees on that front. And then if you look at the even bigger picture in terms of the job market and inflation, those are two really complicated situations right now as we're starting to see cracks in the labor market. And then we saw, core inflation for PCE 3 times higher than expected. And so these are all factors that play into this very complicated picture. But certainly Lisa Cook saying, I'm not going to back down. We're going to court.
All right, Jolene Kent, thank you so much for that analysis. We appreciate it today.
Thanks, Reid.